start?
No, this week it's not. It's usually just one thing.
You want us to follow first?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of January 7th meeting. All distributed by email. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, anything on the question? Anybody in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Correspondence. Before we start, we have two guests. Could you just introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are?
Sure. Andrew Knoll from Twin City Amity, from the general manager.
Scott Corcoran, I'm the Director of Paramedic Education at Erie Community College.
Okay, everybody knows Bigfoot, Mr. Mahalpa? And out of respect, I want to say
Appreciate that.
Cindy's in that. Thanks for coming.
Real Metro Medical Services, we put in course applications, Erie Community College for the course applications, Erie State Department of Health. Received a copy of a letter to Chief Lilly of Collins Fire Company pertaining to BLS FLR approval. New York State of New York Office of State Controller received our 1099 form was forwarded to the treasurer. Cardiac Life, we received PAD applications, Erie Community College course applications, Erie County EMS purpose applications. Received an email from New York State Department of Health regarding Chapter 424 of the laws of 2014, added a new section 921 to educational law to permit schools to administer epinephrine auto-injectors, and Twin City Ambulance letter for Twin City Ambulance requested hold tournament course.
Any questions on the correspondence? Treasurer's report. We don't have a treasurer's report today, and I made it a point to call the treasurer and explain to him my dissatisfaction that there was no report, and not being able to talk to him too well because he was in the hospital emergency room. So we're giving him a pass this time. But Madonna is taking over for Neil. We always Neil did the best. I really feel pretty. I wasn't the best. But Madonna has a short report. We just gave it to her a couple of minutes ago.
Don't let her leave the table, is what I heard.
Madonna's good
Don't let her
at
sit
stuff to
down.
come back another term to take over the treasurer's role. But
Great.
did he give you any info? Or?
Neil said the remaining amount, he didn't give you that number, I thought it was,
No.
I could call it a couple $1,000, that whatever's remaining, he suggested maybe applying that towards the deposit for the awards dinner in July, and I believe we've done that in the past. Unless there's other ideas or requests to utilize the money.
We'll bring that up for my report later on. For
Did you
awards.
want me to see if I can get a hold of him on his cell? He's waiting to be discharged. He's hoping to be discharged. It's up to you.
Well, if all the people weren't here, I'd say yes. But no, I think we'll let it go. Everybody comfortable
I
with
just
whatever
talked
the
to him
remainder is.
a little bit ago. So.
Yeah. He wasn't bad at responding to the texts and emails. I'll tell you that, for a guy who's in the hospital. Right, so, I think we'll go with whatever's remaining.
Okay.
I'll let you have an accidentally text him.
Oh, I could just ask him.
All right, thanks. Anything for the medical advisory committee? Ms. Mayor, New York State Council.
We had a meeting.
How was it?
It was exciting. Did you get minutes handed out or no?
Yeah.
I apologize for being late.
You don't like zero.
Sorry?
You don't like zero.
No, I wouldn't.
No. Warsaw's too far to be here in 10 minutes. There was, first of all, beginning of the meeting, you should see us talking about the vital signs. WEREMSCO tried a while ago, based on the CMAQ, to require all ALS services to possess, administer, or possess controlled substances if they were licensed to do so. That way you wouldn't have to worry about calling an agency and having them show up and having the skill but not the resources, so having to ask yet another ALS unit to come in. Evidently they can't do that, the method that they did it. It's going to require an actual change in regulation as opposed to just a policy change, so they went back to the drawing board on that. There was a very good presentation by the spinal immobilization tag. Dr. Bartz put it on. And actually it's not too much of a change, just additional research. They rolled out that spinal immobilization a while ago, but they didn't follow through with changing the educational component and changing a number of the other pieces. So they're hoping to roll it out again, and in doing that, bring all those pieces together, not just the education, but the skills, the stations, and to make sure the policy and protocols follow that along. There was a great deal of discussion about exams and how people were doing on the exams. Did they need to change the CIC's qualifications? There was some discussion about changing how CICs were credentialed. A piece of that had to do with having them take an exam rather than take an exam for the 85 scoring and then become a CIC. Actually sit for an exam to become a CIC. That's one of the proposals out there. It's not in regulation, but there was a great deal of discussion about that. What was the other thing that there was discussion about? Having to do with, the regional faculty. That was something that they talked about. Having everybody that currently is regional faculty request to be put on regional faculty again, basically starting the slate blank, bring everybody back on. There's a lot of regional faculty that just aren't ever active. So they talked about how they're going to maybe compensate regional faculty in the future. They've never done it in the past. Trying to think of what else was outstanding. Everything else I think is pretty well written, which thank you, Scott, for putting that together for me. Now that you've had a chance to look at it as I'm babbling, do you have any questions on what was out here?
One mistake I made, Vital Signs is not in Rochester. It was in Rochester in 2014.
It will be in Syracuse.
It will be in Syracuse
again,
in 2015.
Yeah.
In 2016.
Did talk about finance. We are going to request more money. They're just crazy that they're holding the costs of education and the contracts with the program agencies to a level that is way, way, way outdated. So we're going to try to be a little bit more aggressive in asking for funding. So, no questions? That's the end of my report?
Oh, I got a question. Sorry, a question.
No, that's the end of my
Oh,
report.
you're saying there's no question. There's no question. With regards to the regional faculty, in the book it says the regional faculty program, they intend to allocate 2 regional faculty to each county.
Yeah.
Limited to or additional?
They were, the discussion was they wanted to target that there would be 2 regional faculty available to each county. That might mean that they would be ending up sharing. Maybe they wouldn't get, in some of the mountain areas, maybe they wouldn't have a regional faculty that would step forward. Maybe next door they would have 3, but their target was going to be 2 for each county.
And then 2 program coordinators in additional?
Where are you reading at?
Right after it.
Yeah, but I didn't know where he was reading,
Oh.
where he was just reading, I apologize.
Fourth bullet point
Program
from the bottom.
coordinators
Or,
and
I'm
each
sorry.
correspondence.
Yep.
I don't know
Yeah.
what that's.
So 2 program coordinators to each
I
specialty
think that's
correspondent.
talking in reference to conducting courses, that they don't want to have, like for instance, you have ECC, you've got Erie County, you've got Rural Metro, what do you have? Mercy Flight, who are your training,
Specialty or just training?
just training,
Right? It's Erie County,
yeah,
Erie Community College,
yeah.
Rural Metro.
Rural Metro.
And certified one?
No, Wyoming County Emergency Services, we're a specialty sponsor, that's it.
Yeah, because we only have one in Wyoming County. And that's a work in progress, you know, because we are so incredibly diverse, but I think that the conversation, I believe, started, they didn't want a bunch of fly-by-nights in some of the other counties. And that's my phrase, not theirs.
It was interesting, because I got an email questioning if that was my email the other day. They're checking our regional faculty emails. So, who should we call, to talk to about that? What's going on there? Everybody can talk to
Andy,
her?
I think, was the one that was doing a great deal of discussion about it.
Okay, great.
Cheryl, was there any discussion at Andy was at the meeting on the pass rate for EMT? Are they happy with that pass rate? Because they didn't like that there were too many people passing.
You know, there was also some discussion about could they focus it more, you know, hey, congratulations, they're saying EMT pass rate is 82. Well, which instructor? Did this instructor have 100? Congratulations. Do we need to check out this instructor over here that only has 45? So I believe they were going to try to focus that more and make sure that they push those test results out. I know you already get it by running a class, right? You already see your pass-fail, but maybe your bosses don't. You know, maybe you see it as an instructor, but they want to make sure that they bring it to the attention of the people that have qualified you to teach that class. And maybe you need to have some remedial stuff done with the new and improved
You know
regional
what,
faculty.
I'm gonna go out of last year, because as a teacher and an educator from New York State, I have a class and I teach it. And, you know, my pass rates are not great, like 65 maybe, and they're not great, but I have a very large class and I push my kids through to try to achieve. And I don't think I should be punished for trying to make my students successful. To use a number to negate me or point me out, I mean, that's wrong.
You know, and I don't think that they were looking at it that way, Chris, and this is, again, my interpretation of it. I think that what they were looking at is a course sponsor having 4 different instructors. If there's one instructor that chronically is like down here and you're turning out students that are not passing, maybe there's a reason why. You're dealing with very young kids. I mean, young adults that maybe don't grasp it. There's a difference, and your program sponsor, your course sponsor, is going to have to evaluate whether you need extra remediation to help you come up with being an instructor of the caliber that comes up with 80 and 90, you know, % pass rates.
Well, those results go to the sponsor, and then it's disseminated to the instructor. It doesn't go to
But is it being acted on, I think?
Well, I mean, it's the sponsor.
And that has to do with,
Yeah.
that has to do though with the regional faculty. I think that was one of the conversations, is the regional faculty, I believe, the intention was to make sure you were there to help courses. You were helping, maybe when they were doing their skills night, you were going to help make sure that these people were teaching the skills correctly and performing them correctly. But we've got a lot of regional faculty that aren't responding, that aren't attending classes, and I think that kind of hand in hand is they want to have regional faculty up to snuff to step in if there are instructors that weren't necessarily teaching quality students. Maybe there's a reason why. Maybe it just has to do with the clientele that you're bringing in to teach that class to.
Well, I think the first step should be to notify the agencies that the regional faculty will be coming. Because for a regional faculty to walk in to another agency to evaluate, it's not going to happen. They're not going to accept it.
Well, it sounded like they wanted to make it a little bit friendlier too. You know, if you've got a class that you're seeing by test results are struggling, maybe you want to invite that regional faculty to come down to your class. It shouldn't be them against us. It should be, here's another resource on the table. He's a regional faculty person and I want to bring him into my class because you know what? I need some shoring up here. I can't do it by myself. This is just a challenging group of people and I need extra resources, and they want to bring the regional faculty in. But again, that's what I thought I heard, is that they were looking to shore up the regional faculty to help instructors.
But deeper into my question, a couple years ago at ECC, when they rolled out the new curriculum and all that, Andy Johnson said that the pass rate for EMTs was too high. It was like 86, 87%, does that sound right?
It's higher than that. In
So they had
90s.
to toughen up the
So-
class?
Yes, he said the test was too easy. So my question is he happy with this pass rate?
You know what, I don't think he spoke to it.
That's just my question, because it didn't sit too well with some people when he brought that up at that meeting.
And vital signs are one of the meetings in the back with the agencies,
I think there's two schools of thought on what Chris is saying. I think when the exam results go back to the sponsor, the expectation is not that the sponsor would punish the bad instructor. I think the expectation is that the sponsor would meet with the instructor with low test scores to find out if there's a reason why that's happening and whether there's something that they can do to help improve it. I don't think it's punitive, you know. And the other school of thought is, as a sponsor and as an instructor, if there are students that have no chance of making it through the state exam, I think the expectation is to have them maybe finish the class, but not, if somebody's getting a 40 on the exam, those are people I think that we expect to be informed that they're not going to be able to take the state exam and not allowed to take the state exam. And in your case, Chris, it doesn't have an impact, but where it does have an impact is if an agency is running an EMT class and only half the class passes, and then the rest of the class is responsible for the tuition because the state's not going to pay tuition because they didn't pass. There's numerous issues out there, but I don't think the intention is to single out an instructor and make it their fault that their results, and we have a very good example. It's Paul Shepard, because the facility, they send him students that are having problems, you know, so he has a terrible pass rate, but it's really not his fault. So I think that the sponsor is expected to consider what the factors are and help, but it's not meant, I don't think, to be critical.
Thank you, I think that was,
Right.
that was what I was trying to say, if I didn't say it clearly, that was exactly it, or call on the regional faculty to
It's,
maybe help do it.
yeah, I think,
Thank
you know,
you.
that's reasonable.
Well, thanks so much for that report. It was just one, next time I'll let you eat.
All right, you can tell I haven't missed a lot of it.
Anything, from Ms. Mayor? Erie County, John is, still retired. We've not removed anything from his desk. It's as it was when he left on December 20th. And, we're just assuming we're gonna walk in and he's gonna be sitting there like nothing ever happened. He says no, but, we left his office just as is. Name tags, everything is still there. We're still having our fun with Ebola. Right now, there's 3 people of interest in Erie County that are being watched. They're showing no signs or symptoms. Our pilot that kept going up to Canada and had to be monitored on the way back across the border, he passed his 21 days, so we're doing well. But we don't see the end of Ebola anytime soon. And if you guys, whatever you want to do a conversation about your stuff today, you want to talk about, right? Well, the state's up to their state in Ebola. The health department's doing a pod, which is a point of distribution exercise next Friday during the day, 12 to 4. And what the pod does is it tests the county and their ability to distribute mass medications for people that need, for example, if there was an anthrax incident, say at the football stadium, all right, you have 70-something thousand people, 45,000 people, all right, that have to be taken care of and given meds in a fairly rapid succession. They set up a pod and they work these people through. The goal is to get 2,000 people through in an hour at ECC North. Right? So we're going to be doing that on next Wednesday, next Friday. If anybody's interested in participating in 2 to 4 or any part, let me know if you have anybody that needs little badges on their outfits and stuff like that. We'll take everybody we can. We're kind of light for patients right now. In fact, the patients coming through are probably going to go through 5 and 6 times. So we'll just keep having them go around until we get them. But it's an interesting thing that I've learned since coming over to, we get M&Ms, those are your pills, so I'm there.
Green ones for you.
Thank you. But that's going to be the excitement next week for Erie County.
plug along, just trying to dig out and stay warm.
That's, just, guys stick together, that's it. Anything for Western New York stress? Anything here for stress? Stress is still stressing. Committee reports, Mr. Santoro on the budget. No report. Article 30, Ms. Fisher's not here. Membership, Ms. Lapp. She's been a busy girl. And she's cleaning up, she sent out some notices on folks who haven't been attending, so we'll be having some openings soon. CON, Mr. Adolph, again, won't be here tonight. He's recouping from a problem that he's had too much fun. But there's nothing active in CON. Mr. Zemrak, training ed.
Applications were received and filed.
Right. And you'll take and file the letter from Twin City and review.
Yes.
Bylaw, Mr. Glass.
Still being reviewed, there's a couple there that I'm not real excited about the wording, and I'm trying to rework.
Boards, me. All right, the boards are moving on. We need to discuss where we're gonna do it this year. Let's start the good stuff. I've already gotten some applications and some inquiries into it, into nominations and stuff like that. So that's that. I mean, we're well ahead of the schedule. So if there's more people out there, there's plenty of categories. Send the stuff in. Thanks to Mr. Wanderer for your. They seem to be generating a little more from their side, and I appreciate that. So the more the merrier. We plan to do it in Wyoming County this year, and we're going back to the Hidden Valley. Neil was good enough prior to his problem to go out and establish some of this stuff, but this year they're going to hit us with a $500 lodge fee, which hasn't happened in the past. My whining and crying has not influenced them at all. Right? Plus the fact that the cost of it's just a tad higher than all the places we've been, like last year. Last year was pretty economical, so it's hard to compare it to it. I don't know if we want to move ahead with this. At that place, it's probably going to cost us $1,000 to $1,100 more for the program. And that's going to be, in the past, what I've tried to do is if you nominated somebody, I brought that nominator and their guests so that they had somebody to sit with, I would probably eliminate that part of it to keep the cost down a little.
It's just my personal opinion, I would say no on that, because that's, the Wyoming County contingency can find another place. That $500 fee, that's just like throwing money away. I'm not in favor of going back there then. I mean, it was a nice place, but they're gonna bump a $500 fee.
Okay.
We'll give Mr. Boxer one more try, and then we'll look for another place on this.
Mr. Boxer is the,
We'll
I think what we got is Brianne Whitmire.
go right to Mr. Boxer.
Do you want me to come and be the bad guy?
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Drive by there.
So, we're gonna have to get this going, so if we can get $500, taken off, are we willing to put up with the extra $500 or $600, and I'll just have to manage it?
Because of the dinner cost.
The cost of dinner, yeah.
Do we have it in the budget?
It'll be over. We're always over. Would you be comfortable if we got numbers and presented it to the executive committee next month at the executive meeting and let them decide?
Need a motion on that, Greg?
Yeah, please.
I'll make a motion. That the numbers are acceptable, it gets presented to the executive committee.
And that they have the authority to.
Yep, and that they have the authority to move ahead.
I'll second that.
A second question, we're discussing one. This is one of the few things we do a year, so I'd like to do it.
If I could wording that motion again, please.
That,
The
oh, go ahead.
numbers get submitted to the executive board committee, and whatever they feel is the most appropriate that they proceed with.
And if not, then we're gonna have to, have it go out to you and make it get going. We'll try to line something up. If we can't break through things, we'll have to line something up for vote in May.
report was distributed. I have nothing to say now. Report's up on the table if you haven't had a chance to look at it. I'm just going to hit a couple of key points as we go through. We completed the EMS officer training course at the Alma Fire Company. We had heat this year. Nobody froze. We had 103 people take the program, which is a double from what it's been the last couple of years. I don't know what happened. We didn't try to give anything away for free. The feedback was fantastic on it. Most of the people from our region. There were some folks from outside of our region also. We continue to work on our agency information update. We're reaching out to all the agencies to find out who their officers are and their appropriate contacts, and make sure that we have all the correct approvals and such for each of the agencies. Just to shed a little history on this, this was a big piece of information that was lost when the REMS thing happened. And so when EpiPen and albuterol and all that stuff took effect, all those records are kind of MIA in terms of when the agency was actually approved. We noticed a lot of this rather when we went through the BLSFR update with the Bureau a couple years ago and discovered we didn't have public access DFib records. We're finding that for the same thing with EpiPen and some of the other stuff that's going on. So the EMS pre-notification for stroke patients or suspected stroke patients. The hospitals continue to need this pre-notification by EMS. They're asking that everything be documented on the PCR, that you do the pre-notification. It helps to close the loop. However, the PCR is not a required element that the hospital have to take credit for the fact that EMS did actually pre-notify. The whole point of this is to try to reduce the amount of time to administering, obviously, life-saving medications to the patients who might benefit from it. As I reported in the last the last meeting, we were going to go out and start doing REMAC credentialing and CME program on-site evaluations to go out to each of the agencies, see where they stand in terms of maintaining records and that kind of stuff, and really just give them feedback in terms of what they need to have in their files to substantiate that the skills were completed and that credit was appropriately given. Hamburg Fire Company has completed theirs. There's another one scheduled at West Falls Fire Company, and there are about 5 or 6 more that are scheduled or to be scheduled over the next month. Mike Krupski, who is working for us part-time, is the guy who's going out and doing these evaluations. He's very thorough, really a great guy to work with. And the feedback, the agencies actually that he's gone to so far have requested to have this review done. And the intent is to reach every agency in the Wyoming-Erie region. It won't happen probably in the next 2 years because it's very aggressive. But as you can imagine, we want to get it done and not have it drag on for years and years and years. And again, this is just to help agencies remain compliant with that policy. There's been a lot of discussion at recent REMAC meetings about this. We did offer as another opportunity for providers to get their skills checked off if they don't have access to a REMAC preceptor or the ability to do their skills. We did offer a BLS skill evaluation day at Armor Fire Company on Saturday, February 28th. A whopping 3 people showed up to do it, and we're going to continue to do it. We're just going to continue to offer this. We want to do them in both counties. We know that there's a need for this. I think people just sort of need to get over the intimidation factor of it, and it'll catch on. It's successful in the southwestern region, although they have far fewer preceptors and they have their program a little bit more centralized. But the intent of this is really just to help providers be compliant, and so we want to keep moving forward. We're not discouraged with 3. Certainly we would have liked to see it be bigger, but all we can do is lead people to water and give them the opportunity, and we'll continue to promote it.
15% there?
What's that?
Is 15% there?
No. It wasn't the written, it was just skills. Yeah, it only applies to the written. The intermediate program, as you know, intermediates will sunset. They will ride off into the sunset on June 30th, and we have been tasked by the Bureau to do some interfacing with our intermediate level agencies to find out what their intent to do is, whether they're going to upgrade to AEMT or whether they're going to drop back to the BLS level. And we've made contact with all of the affected agencies. We have, some of them have declared what they're doing, others are still a little bit up in the air. I know one of the agencies, they're waiting to see what their test results are gonna be from the March AEMT test. I think actually it's a retest for these individuals. So it's looking like it's about 50-50. 50% of them are dropping, and this is just kind of like an estimation, but about 50% are gonna upgrade, 50% are gonna downgrade. What I did think was interesting, and I do have to report this to the REMAC in 2 weeks, we ran a query out of our database of all the intermediates in the region to find out who has taken the AEMT class, or perhaps the paramedic class, or has dropped back to the BLS level. There were 173 intermediates in the region that still we didn't have one way or another. I had shared that list with someone who could kind of go through and try to tease out some of the incorrect information. But it does look like there are about 150 intermediates between Erie and Wyoming County that will not have taken an AEMT or a paramedic class by June 30th. So these will be BLS providers. So we know that this is going to be an important thing for us to make sure that we get the word out to these providers so that they really understand that they're BLS providers by June 30th. And that's going to be really a core part of our mission over the next couple of months, just to make sure that we close the loop and have discussion with all of these people. Are there any questions on that?
On that number, how many intermediates are there practicing in our area in Ballpark? So what's that percentage that are dropping back?
Well, okay, so that number is somebody who's registered with us that has a provider privilege application on file. That's assuming that everybody who's out there has an agency that's following the rules and that they submitted a provider privilege application. Out of 170, whatever there were, I had an instructor take a look at it, who does the AEMT program, and say, tell me how many of these that have taken the class and are AEMTs or are paramedics, but haven't filed a new provider privilege application like they're supposed to be doing. That's a separate issue for us. That whittled it down to 150. So now at 150, we're assuming that all these providers are active providers. To what degree, we don't know, but just that they have a provider privilege application on file. It's also difficult for the Bureau to do this too, because they kind of do it, you guys pull it out by county, right? And it's by their home address, not necessarily where they play. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
No, that's what I can talk to you. So my question is, at 150,
Yeah.
what's the total, so there's 150 that are going to be re-upped by June
Right.
30th. How many intermediates are there practicing in this area? Is there 500, is there 600, that's the number I'm looking for, you can't give.
No, there's 150. The number 150 is the number. So there's
Basically, it's almost 100% that aren't doing much of anything.
well, no. So how many have gone to AEMT?
Yes.
About in the Wyoming-Erie region, probably in the neighborhood of 50 or 60.
That was what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
So, out of 150, how many moved?
So 230 total.
That's what I was looking
Yep. About 50 or 60 have taken the AEMT class. There are probably 10 or so that have taken the paramedic program. So they knock out of that too.
for. So a very large majority have. not
Yeah.
done it.
Two-thirds of the providers.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Sorry.
That's okay.
We're on the same page now. Last couple of things. There was legislation that was just passed last week allowing schools to possess and administer EpiPens. So just like PAD programs, they will now be able to have EpiPen programs. I would certainly think this is a good opportunity if you have a school district that is in your district where you serve. Try to reach out to the school, make sure that they're aware of this, find out if they want to participate in this program. It really could be a life-saving thing for students. There was a new bureau policy that came out since our last meeting, 1401, patient care restriction, and St. Joe's is requesting a change in the REMAC representative from Dr. Brown to Dr. Krozak, and I believe that that's on the agenda already, although I haven't looked at the agenda. So, you guys have to act on it. Gives you something to do here today, right? Other than that, our conference is coming up in April, and that stuff will be coming out next day or two. It's all finalized, just has to go out. Yep, it's at the Millennium.
You have the right date on that one?
It's the right date. Yeah.
The 2014.
I got that one right.
Imran,
Say. Just busted your chops.
Anything for our program meetings? No report from the steering committee? Any report from the steering committee? Old business, no update on the fuel reform. New business, let's vote on Dr. Brown, to Dr. Crozak, St. Joseph's Hospital. Nathan Remek, representative. Have a motion? Any other question? All in favor? Any nays? Business. We have a number of policies that have come out in regards to the council and things that we have to do for this grand skate rate that go, to the hospital. And the policies will be distributed for your review. They haven't gone out yet, and you need to review it. I was trying to be tactful.
I know, I think I forgot.
Debbie's working on this for you.
you sent out something, at the end of the day.
No, not today. I said, I might have sent out just to the executive.
This was a
Okay.
while ago. Did we
Okay.
It went to the,
rewording on it?
it went to the
Might have.
executive.
Yes, and I was
Right.
like, yes.
We wordsmith, and then we'll distribute it to the council. It's all, they're all required. This, Grant Gates money thing has been quite a challenge for you. And, we've been back and forth, we've done a lot of, we're just about there. And, so, when he comes back, thank you. All right, but we'll distribute the executive policies that they require, so make sure you review them and offer them comment. We also distributed legislative initiatives for changes in the CON, as far as municipal CONs, is distributed to everybody for their input, proposal, whatever, for your information, okay? I've received nothing back from anybody, any questions or anything like that. Are there any questions on the legislation that was initiated by Cliff? Unfortunately, Cliff would be here, maybe he sent to. Questions on it? Any other business for the council?
Great.
Pam Shelma is asking for a letter of support. She completed her CIC paperwork and more training and skills under the tutelage of Joe Kushner. And she's just looking for a letter of support from this council to complete her dossier and paperwork.
I
You want a
would like that motion.
I think that requirement was removed.
We talked about that, but we thought we'll just send it.
Oh, okay.
Just as a.
Okay.
We talked
These
about it.
requirements were removed, but if you check the administrative manual, it still exists.
Oh, okay.
So we figured we just.
Sure.
plug it in.
Very good.
So I'm gonna have a little mud wrestle for her. Yeah.
You don't need a motion.
I don't need a motion.
We've always done it in the past, so it's just
Right.
a
Right
courtesy.
down, we've always done it that way.
We got a motion, we got a second. Any other questions?
I'll need all that information again. Let me get a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other business that I forgot?
Two really quick things. Article 30 revisions have been reposted. Yeah, I wrote it down at the top and I didn't look back up there. Article 30 revisions have been reposted to the state registry so this is the second time. The first one of all the revisions, then you got comments, this council submitted comments on that. They've responded to each of those comments and they've been reposted. I believe they're back up, so if you want to take a look at them, you can see them. Nothing too earth-shattering. They did make some changes in responses to the comments. Actually, a number of changes in response to the comments. And then the last thing is, we're going to be changing our name. We're no longer going to be the Office of Pre-Hospital Care.
We didn't vote on that.
We are going to, UEMS is actually no longer going to exist. That's also going away. The company's not dissolving or any of that, but we're now part of, and formally will become before the next council meeting, the UBMD Emergency Medicine, and then the Office of Pre-Hospital Care, we will now be the division of EMS. So just so you're aware, when you see that stuff coming out, it doesn't mean it's nothing more than a name change, but it's UBMD Emergency Medicine Division of EMS. And you're the first to know that.